Hi there, Facebook peeps. If you're watching this, you are somebody who watches my Facebook, and I have felt that I was supposed to do this for a few months. And so I have been feeling very pushed into the direction of creating this video. And it kind of came all about, even most recently with my name change. I just recently changed my last name after being divorced, and after having the nickname of Kat or Kathy since the 3rd grade, and always keeping Heidi, even though I wanted to switch, I am switching to Kat, which is short for Katrine, which has been my middle name, obviously, all my life. When I moved back to Oregon, I should have just went with Kat, but I was still married, and at that time, and I have acquiesced to keeping Heidi instead of just switching it to Kat. But it has more to do with becoming the person that I want to be. And I have felt like I need to do some, Lucy, you got some splaining to do some little bit of sharing on what's been going on. This video is challenging for me, difficult. I've been a pretty private person, I felt, especially in the last few years, and things have changed dramatically for me within the last year. This is hard to even figure out where to start, but I'm coming out of the cave that I've been in, the hermit that I've been, and I'm gonna share some truths. And this has been scary for me because I was brought up so Christian, and I have a lot of people that I love out there who are Christian, fundamentally Christian, and I was worried about backlash or people going, oh, she's crazy or whatever, but I'm not scared of that anymore. I really am not. And I know that the people who love me will love me, and those who won't, who don't understand, that's completely okay. And that's completely okay. And I just let that go. When I moved back to Oregon, a few things had kind of set me on that path. And I guess it actually started with, before I moved, my cousin had come into town, and she challenged me to do a law of attraction exercise where I wrote down the deepest desires of my heart. And I wrote these down, and within a very short amount of time, things started to happen that were on that list, like moving back to Oregon, getting a better paying job, and buying a house, and being closer to family. And the way that all of it happened was so perfect and divinely led. There was just even doubt that it wasn't something I was supposed to do. So then we moved to Oregon, and then things just didn't quite work out the way that we had thought and hoped. My husband didn't get a job. The marriage didn't work out. Lost the house. Was left in a lot of debt because of the way everything went down. I moved to Newburgh, where I work, and where I had worked for a few years by that time. Oh boy. And I had started working kind of on some self-healing stuff, recognizing that having the marriage fail, having finances not be where I want them to be, having lost the house that finally had gotten the house, all the things that, I thought that I wanted had not worked out that way. And it left me in a little bit of a tailspin. So I read a few self-help books, started with the 4 Agreements. And then in January of this year, 2019, I met someone that I had a connection with that I'd never had a connection like that with anybody. And the way that it all kind of happened was interesting, but I started recognizing there were some insecurities coming up in me that I thought I dealt with. This wasn't my first time at the rodeo. I had gone through loss. I had gone through major life transformations a few times by that point. I thought that I really had a lot of things healed. Insecurities were coming up for me. That person, for whatever reason, I'm not going to try to understand all that, but have my own, not trying to make up stories about whatever happened. But I felt that person kind of pull, which triggered me and triggered more fear. They introduced me to Brene Brown, and that connection fell apart, and in a really ugly way of no closure. And it was very confusing. And I was definitely left in a tailspin and going, what, huh? Trying to make sense of it. And I chased, and it was hard. It was really hard. But again, this wasn't my first rodeo. I knew that I had stuff that had already been coming up, and I'd been trying to grieve it, and I'd watched Beaches and all these sad movies, Steel Magnolias, trying to grieve the marriage and the loss and all these things. And so I used the pain of the loss of that connection to do all that. And going through all of this, and I started to identify what identities do I want to be associated with? What do I want? And there was a little notebook that I had that said, life isn't about finding yourself, it's about creating yourself. And for several years, I had really believed in the power of positive thought, and what you say about yourself and what you surround yourself with it really makes a big difference. And I came to realize that I had some big wounds that still needed cleaning up. There were layers, deep layers, and I was not aware of that. Deep-seated insecurity, really deep-seated insecurity, to the point where I was reinforcing bad behavior or choices that kept me in that victimhood. And then I started recognizing things like, well, gosh, I have a lot of anger. I have a lot of anger towards men. I have this, da 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 da. And I started seeing and worrying that I would even be safe with somebody else. I felt like a scorpion that I just kept lashing out, and I would just go out and sting in my absolute, desperate, painful place that I was at. Really just open wound. It took me a long time to get through a lot of this healing, and I saw it, which was the good part. But we lie to ourselves. And in about April, I started recognizing some patterns, and there was a lot of emotion that was coming up, and I would have these it was like sad, but this was deep sadness. This was wrenching my soul, it felt like. And I had always thought I was a pretty stable person, and I didn't know that I believed that anymore. But I knew that I was having these big emotional kind of an outburst. And during these moments, sometimes I would reach out to that other person and sting them, or just try to be nice or whatever, just try to chase them, whatever, trying to have closure. But this pattern kind of happened, and it was like a temper tantrum, and I would just be so emotional. Finally, in April, my cousin again showed me a video about awakening and what that is and what that means, and that, you know, are you feeling feelings that you've never had before, that you don't feel like is really yours? And I would get into these, I was like I was using meditation and doing these guided meditations and trying to heal child abuse, really bad child abuse, and getting into these places. And at one point, I just didn't feel like I could even make the sadness stop. I just didn't feel like I could even get out of it by myself. That was a dark place. So I finally recognized that I was having all these like other body sensations, like my head was being squeezed. I kept feeling all these tingling in my feet. I was feeling all these weird tingles all over my body. And by that time, I also had started doing some yoga. And I'd heard about chakras, but then I started really understanding, oh yeah, I know, that's what I'm feeling. Oh, wow. And then I started realizing that every single time I'd had one of those really emotional episodes, it was always at a new moon or a full moon. Later on, not even until about 2 months ago, I started recognizing other signs, like where I had been like going, like taking these big gasping breaths, and afterwards I would feel really calm. It was happening at work. It had happened, first time I noticed it was in January when I was with that other person. And actually those are signs of awakening as well. And you might be asking yourself, Heidi, what the heck is awakening? Well, that is understanding that there is an energy field that we are all part of, and that my soul isn't here in just one incarnation on this earth right now, but that it is an eternal soul. And I had a lot of problems understanding this or accepting it because I was raised Christian and I didn't believe in multiple lives and what the heck is going on. And for those who really know a lot of my history, I had this stuff happen when I was younger as well. Visions and all kinds of stuff, and things that I had forgotten and have been reminded by friends and family. Like, do you remember in high school, you used to say that if you can't envision something happening, that it doesn't happen. And I would know that things were going to happen before they would happen. And I was able to find people that I had no business finding. And I was messing with the occult. I did all kinds of weird stuff. And it was really through those experiences that I knew that there was a God, and there was actually an angel named Ariel who had been with me and who was protecting me when I was doing all that garbage. And I was healed of that and protected and like, oh my gosh, and ran away. So when all this is going on, I'm like, what the hell is happening to me? And I had such a huge crisis of faith, and I didn't know what to believe anymore. And was I just going crazy? I thought I was going crazy. And there was also that this other person, I still felt so connected to this person, and I was dreaming about them and having these very odd sensations. It was so weird. And so then one day I just was like in the car and I was like talking out loud, like, well, what does that mean? I know that I've been talking to the Holy Spirit for 30 years. And I remember like it, not a, not an audible voice, but I've been talking to God. I've been talking to the Holy Spirit for all this time. What does that mean? And going through awakening and trying to learn about that, it's more of, and what I had felt was more of like a collective energy, but definitely divine. Yes, there's negative, evil things out there. I absolutely freaking know that. So I'm in the car and I'm like, well, what does that mean, Holy Spirit? And this divine spirit or this divine collective or this divine spirit. And it was just like, hello, divine spirit. Divine is holy, Holy Spirit. And then I'm not gonna cry. I just started bawling because it was like, oh my God, that's what you mean. It's the same. Other things started getting revealed to me, like praying in tongues is just another frequency, which I still do. Understanding that Jesus, Christ consciousness, that's how it's addressed in the whole metaphysical awakening world, is one and the same. And that it's not exclusive to this or that. It's actually all inclusive. All of it is included, right? All of the, and this is where I feel like some of my hardcore Christian people are going to be like, what? Buddha, Jesus, enlightened yogis, it's the same. We're all part of that. And I truly believe that. And I am so led and guided and protected by the angels and my grandmothers. I've had so many experiences now since this has been happening, and I feel my chakras and I feel the energy that is source, that is pure joy, pure love, so much love. And it was funny, I finally made these videos for nutrition and my lamp was going off and I knew that that was the angels. They give me angel signs all the time. So many signs and synchronicities. So much information that I am just being led and guided. And they've been asking me to do this video for a few months. And I didn't feel ready to do that. And it's been a really, really amazing and scary, but very transformative journey. I practice something called, I've done a lot of meditation, but I practice something called Ascension Meditation that focuses on praise and gratitude and love and compassion and unity. And it has really helped me transform what I've understood before to just be more love and more inclusion. And the really funny part about all this is I felt like I really had gotten to a healed place, like in such a better place. And I've had some help along the way. And I've had some amazing friends, friendships that I've grown and have used for support. And I'm so thankful for those. Oh my God. And everything's different. And what's really funny is, the issues that you're supposed to work on as a Christian are the same issues you have to work on now. But I'm able to do it in a way that's different, that's solid. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how else to describe it, but there is a self-love and acceptance. There's a self-love and acceptance I have now that I've never had. Whatever happens is going to happen, and I'm okay with it. I let it go. I know that what happened in the past can't be changed. And I mean, just even yesterday, it's like I get so much information. Like, just even, I've gone back to listening to some of my Christian music. It's wonderful. And recognizing that in Pentecostal church, raising your hands, you're opening up your heart chakra, your chakras in your hands, and when you're doing that, you're connected with God. That was just, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's not exclusive, it's inclusive. I can't remember the little part that I was going to say, but just that you know, this present moment is all we ever have. And I get led with so many songs, and The Greatest Showman has been my favorite since the end of last year, for the last year. And I had so many messages really coming from that. And this is me. Like, I used to be ashamed of all my scars. Thank you, Brene Brown, for helping me see that being vulnerable is not a weakness. It is absolutely a strength. I'm clear-headed. The problem is you can lie to yourself when you're going through the dark night of the soul and going through this awakening process and trying to figure out what is true and what's not true, because the ego self, the mind self, was driving for 40 plus years and lies to you because it wants to keep you safe. And you know, I forgive myself for my mistakes of the past. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I'm okay with whatever happens in the future. I am so guided and led, and no matter what happens, it's all going to be good. I can't control the past, and you know, I've made my own mistakes, but you know, I didn't cause it. I can't control it, and it's not my job to cure it. I admit my faults. I am absolutely willing to work with any one who wants to do any healing or feels that I have slighted them or anything, as I have been going through this for the last 6+ months. And I have absolutely hidden myself, because going through all this, I didn't want to emotionally vomit on people. And the one person I felt like I reached out a few times, and I'm sure that I hurt that person, and I've asked that forgiveness from them, and I hope that they forgive, but I've forgiven myself. And I've recognized a lot of generational stuff that needs to be healed in my family. So anyway, that is what has been going on with me and going on with my whole kit and caboodle. I have been absolutely hermiting myself for the last 6+ months. All I've been doing is going to work, going to yoga, going home, meditating, doing it all over again. And as I reached a better place, I felt like things were really on the upswing. I started having chest pain and was having heart problems. And I have broken heart syndrome. And the place where I had felt that pain, same exact place. Isn't that funny? And I really thought my heart had been healed. Gosh, it's all good. So, not sure what's going to happen next. Went to the doctor today, changing medications. I was getting rid of medications. Now I've had to add medications. I took a break from yoga. except for restorative. I'm just kind of cracking up because it's not in my control at this point at all. This isn't under my control what's going to happen. So all I can be in control of is this present moment right here. And that's okay. So that's it. I hope you have a blessed day. Love and light to you.